Hey guys, welcome to the Childcare Director's Chair podcast. I'm your host, Erica Saccoccio. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you are one of our regular listeners, you know what I'm going to say. I love you. Thank you. Texas, Wisconsin, Arizona, Rhode Island, all of our peeps who tune in every single day. Thank you. If you're new to our show, I'd like to say welcome. I hope you heard about us from a friend. If you heard about us from a directory, let us know. We love to know where people are coming in and finding our show. So, without further ado, I like to talk a little bit about community. And so, when we developed the show, we really want to think about how do we help with this childcare crisis and shortage of childcare centers. And it made me think about Marjorie Mallard, who I met at a conference probably about 2 months ago. And she does franchising. And I said, that could be a really great option for somebody who is a childcare director at somebody's facility and is ready to make that move to open their own. So I invited her in on the show. I know that you're going to love her. So without further ado, I'm going to invite her in now. Hello, Marjorie.
Hello, Erica. Great afternoon.
So Marjorie is, as I said, a child care business franchise consultant.
Yeah.
So tell us, folks out here, what does that mean? What does that entail?
So, what that means is I assist childcare business owners as well as franchisors and franchisees in the childcare process. So, there are plenty of childcare business owners who want to go the childcare route. Maybe they own several sites and locations and they want to franchise and they just need some consulting around that area. I also help franchisors, the ones who are selling their franchises, and franchisees, the buyers of the franchises, with staff development, setting up their locations, and on-site training as well.
So wow, that's a lot of things. So that's awesome. So a couple of things come to my mind right away. So I had thought about at one point franchising my business, my child care center, because I really believe in having quality. But just in my experience, when I had multiple locations that I solely was responsible for, I feel like it can kind of get away from you because
Yes.
we talk very honest on this show.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people out there that tell you scale up, scale up, scale up, but there are very unique challenges that come with that. So a
Right.
franchise could be a great model for someone to be able to scale up, but not necessarily be the person responsible for that
100%.
location, right? So I love to talk. I love to talk about that again because my mind is thinking about very recently. I love my field and I love our industry, and so we know that there are some really serious challenges right now,
Yeah.
and I think we all as a group can help solve some of it.
Yeah.
And so, parents are having a hard time finding centers.
Mhm.
There's just not enough. And so some people might be ready to make that move. And there's a, although there's all that doom and gloom, there's a lot of opportunity, right? There's a lot of opportunity. And so I like to keep things positive. So let's talk about that. What are the main advantages of opening up a franchise childcare center compared to starting an independent one?
Well, so I'm going to talk about the advantages on the side of the person starting a franchise, okay, as well as on the side of someone who buys into a franchise that wants to start a program. So, like you said, you may have had multiple programs, and that was the same with me when I first started in the franchise business. I wanted to scale up, scale up, scale up. However, I did not want to be in all of the sites, have all of that responsibility of each and every single one, having to go in between each location every single day, because, like you said, it could be very daunting. So the franchise model worked for me because it allowed for me to scale up. The program that I had with the systems that I have, with the quality that I have, and be able to control it, but still have beneath me owners. So, as we know, owners operate a lot differently than employees, right?
Yes, they do, ma'am. Yes, they do.
Right? So, as a franchisor, you can then scale your business to multiple locations globally even. Still have your system spread across all of those locations, still have your processes, the quality of care that you are providing spread across all of those locations, and only have to deal with the owners because the owners are going to have a different mindset than me having 10, 15 locations and having to hire 10 or 15 directors,
Yeah.
right? That's the job of the owner. So now, as the franchisor, the benefit behind that for me, I get to own corporately as many locations as I want, reap the benefit of a percentage of each and every enrollment throughout all of the locations and train the owners, but the owners are running and operating the business. Now, from the perspective inside of someone who just decides, I want to start a daycare, but I'm really not sure what to do, where to start. Maybe they have some fear or some uncertainty because they want it to be right. You know, they want things to go right. There's a lot of financials, money that they're putting into this, and they really want for this to work, but maybe they don't have a clue. They've never worked with children. They've been in corporate America, but they know that this has been a desire on their heart, right? The beauty behind buying into a franchise for them is they are buying into a turnkey model. Everything is done for them. So, me as the franchisor, now having franchisees, right, who own the business are now going to be able to train them, give them everything that they need so that they're successful. So it's like I'm taking them by the arm pretty much and giving them the guidance that they need, making sure that it is going to work for them. And I'm going to make sure it's going to work for them because I'm invested in this as well, right?
Right. Yeah.
As opposed to someone who decides, I'm just going to open up a daycare business and they put all this money into it and they think it's simple and easy and they just fly by the seat of their pants,
Yeah.
right? And they're not sure exactly what to do. Now you're 50-50, right? You're
Yeah.
50-50. The stress is greater, the uncertainty, all of that comes with it. So that's the beauty behind franchising. It's a win-win for
Yeah.
everyone.
It's like bringing in an experienced business partner, right?
Absolutely.
That's exactly what it is.
Yes.
So, how do franchise daycares typically handle regulations and licensing? Because that's different from state to state. Ratios are different, requirements are different. So, how do you modify your framework, or how does that work?
So the corporate entity, the top franchisor, which would be myself, right?
Hmm.
When you're doing the training, just as if I went into Minnesota and opened up a childcare in Delaware, I
Hmm.
would have to know the regulations. So I have to know the regulations to ensure that my franchisees are very on top of it and clear as to what the state is requiring for them. And they have to, it's their business as well, right?
Yeah.
So they have to get training. They have to make sure not only that they're following the model, but also that they're staying on top of the rules, the policies, and the
Yeah.
laws of the land. There's no difference whether they're
Okay.
doing
So, they have to do their own due diligence as well.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
However, like you said, they have a business partner,
Yes.
right? Doing their own due diligence alone is completely different than doing their due diligence and having to discuss that with a business partner.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, can you elaborate on some of the specific benefits that franchisees may experience? I know you had, talked about the supports. Are there any other specific benefits that you can think of?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, one major one is that you have a proven method. You're buying into a proven method. You're not trying to create this as it evolves. This method has already been proven, which is why it became a franchise, right? And it's completely turnkey. You're not going into a program. You now have to write your own policies and procedures. You've got to create the schedule. You've got to figure out a training system. How are you going to market it? As a franchisee coming in, corporate is in charge of all of that for you. They're doing your marketing, they're doing your branding, right? Your turnkey model, all of your paperwork, all of your onboarding, all of your systems is all there for you in your operations manual. So you are just coming on board, getting trained, and following the framework.
Okay. So let's talk about the other piece, right? So you talked about that you're a consultant. So you don't just sell franchises, but you help folks become franchises.
Yes,
So
yes,
talk about that. What does that process look like for those that may be listening here and they're childcare owners and they've
yes.
had businesses for a long time? Because we also know there's that factor as well. You know, and I know plenty of folks who have recently sold or are getting ready to sell or are contemplating maybe this could be a way to sell and really relieve some of the daily operational stuff, but still receive an income.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So, it's so funny because I had this conversation today with one of my potential clients who has a childcare business, put a lot of money into this independently owned childcare business and is struggling. She's very stressed out. She's doing it all by herself and she's really trying to figure out how is this going to work. When she first got into this, she wanted to have multiple sites. She thought she was building this legacy, going to make all of this money
Hmm.
and it's gone, the other way for her. And now she's thinking about selling the program. So for her now to franchise it again, me do it, not franchise it, but for her now to connect and collaborate with someone like me who can come in on site and give her the training and the expertise that she needs, sit down, actually do an analysis and audit of her entire corporation, see where she needs additional help, where she's strong in, where she's weak in, right? And also be able to give her a framework and a model that will help her be successful, right? Instead of her right now trying to figure out how am I going to do this? I want to make this work, but I'm tired. I
Hmm.
just don't know how to
No.
go about it.
Marjorie, did you just say that some childcare owners are tired? Did you just say that?
Oh, you didn't hear that coming from me.
Oh, I don't know. I can't imagine where he got that from.
But listen, when I was in the business, I remember going through and wishing that I had a partner who could understand my pain. Like,
Sure.
and the mistake I made was I thought the state was that partner who could understand my pain. However, they were part of the pain, right? So to be able to have a consultant come on hand and sit with you where you can be 100% authentic, because let's face it, with
Mhm.
certain you just can't, right? For the sake of your business, but be 100% authentic. Have someone come and sit down and do an audit of your corporation and give you a blueprint so that you can actually make a complete 360-degree shift will be a game changer. Will be
Yeah.
a game changer.
So, when you franchise, how long does it take to franchise?
Now it all depends because so there are franchise models where you'll buy a plot of land and you're building up, right? And
Okay.
then there's other franchise models that you can go into with a lease, right? So depending upon what you have in place for your present program, because your books have to be somewhat in order. Okay,
Sure.
so if it isn't and you're haphazard and you're kind of all over
Hmm.
the place, it's
There's
going to
problem number one.
exactly. It's going to take a lot longer. But if you are going into a franchise um, where your books are pretty much in order, it's a leased space, the model includes a lease space, you could do it in under a year. It
Okay.
also, one thing very important, depends upon the state because there are certain states that are registration states.
Mm-hmm.
There are other states that you don't need to go through the registration lengthy process. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a lot faster than your registration states
Okay.
because now we're dealing with the government, right? For them to go ahead and approve this franchise model, how many employees do they have? How backlogged are they? All of that comes into play too. So that could make the process a little bit longer for you.
How does somebody find out if their state is the
Registration.
registration? Mhm.
So that's listed once you go for your FDD, okay, which is your federal disclosure documents. Your attorney who's processing that paperwork for you will very easily let you know whether or not you're in a registration state or not. And easier than that, you could very easily look it up. There's a map for franchises that tell you there's a certain color and shade that's a registration state. If you think about a global map, right?
Yep.
Color and shade that are registration states, and then others that aren't. So you just see where you fit in.
So how would you, because there are other franchise models in our industry, how would
Yeah.
you say you compare to them? Or what might be the differences?
So are you talking about education?
Education, yeah.
Okay.
I don't
So,
want to say other brands' names. So there
okay.
are other
Right.
franchise models in the childcare space.
Right.
How would you say yours compares, or what would you say would be different, unique, or why should somebody
So
consider
what's
yours?
unique about mine is
Mm,
that it's smaller. Okay.
okay.
It's more of a personalized brand. There is no build out cost because that's also included in your budget that you have to include for the franchisees. My franchise fee is not as astronomical for some of the other compared to some of the other brands. And because I am very hands on, I'm there to help the franchisees, as opposed to some of our other brands where you have a big corporation name behind it. You're not dealing directly and exclusively with the main person. You're going through a funnel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the training process is not coming from someone who has owned and operated a daycare. It's coming from someone who left corporate America, possibly, and decided to buy into a franchise, and they are what's called an investor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And just like the people who write the regulations, they've never worked with children, right? They just
Yeah.
know the law. They just know the law. So when
Yeah.
you're buying into my franchise, right? Or I'm training you how to become a franchise, it's completely different. The model is someone who has walked the walk. That speaks volumes as opposed to someone who's book read and studied the law and put it together.
Yeah, I
Okay.
understand that. I heard you. Understand that. So, I want to go back to because I really care about communities and children and families. So, tell me, as you are building this franchise empire, are you specifically working in areas that maybe don't have a lot of childcare centers or are underserved, where you're strategically marketing in those areas, or is it kind of just whoever contacts you, or are you strategic about that? Like, talk a little bit about that.
It's really whoever contacts me. However, they have to be my ideal client because it's a brand, right? It's a brand. And not every brand can be held by everyone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
not every client is going to be a great partner and a great fit. My reputation does not want to get ruined, and I want for my franchisees to
Mm-hmm.
be able to carry the brand and
Yeah.
uphold all the standards of my brand, right?
Yeah.
So I most certainly take that into consideration first and foremost when making the decisions.
Yeah, that's a great answer. So, when you say standards, standards to me are really, really important, something that I talk about quite a bit. So I think we all get very connected to our centers, and we're emotionally connected, right? We're emotionally invested, not only financially, but emotionally. Um, what do you do because I've seen on the news in the last year, again, I will never say anybody's names, but there have been some franchisees that uh, programs that have made the news. And like, so what do you do when somebody's not meeting your standards? Like, let's say because they obviously they own it at that point, or a portion of it. Is that part of the documentation that says you will yeah.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
they're contracting with me for a certain length of time. Okay.
Okay.
And there's certain standards that they're signing off that they have to uphold to, right? And just like anything else, if you think about a lease,
Mm-hmm.
if you break the terms of the lease,
Yeah.
right? What
Okay.
happens?
Yeah. Good point.
Board has the right, depending upon the state of the courts of the land of wherever they are, to
Yeah.
evict you,
Mm-hmm.
right? Same situation.
Okay. Is there anything that I haven't asked you that you think listeners should know or that you want to share?
Well, I just want to share to those listeners out there who are thinking about franchising their brand. It really isn't that much of a monstrosity as people make it out to be. I'm not saying it's easy, it requires a lot of work. However, with the right guidance and you're following the framework and doing the due diligence, it most certainly can be done. I even know of some brands that were family home daycares that went for franchising.
Nice.
So you do not have to have 10 corporations to
Yeah.
franchise. You don't. So if it's something that you're thinking about, definitely connect with me. No,
Okay.
let's put it together and let's try to make it work for you. I'm actually going to be in August hosting a free webinar for providers
Okay.
who are thinking about franchising their brand to explain the process.
Okay.
So definitely connect with me if it's something that you
Yeah, and if you send us the link, we can put that in the link, the show notes.
okay.
Um, so to my listeners out there who are listening, first of all, again, thank you so very, very much. If you're thinking about, starting a center or expanding your center or growing your center, I think, from somebody who has owned 6 childcare centers, it is a lot of work. And I am lucky enough to have a business partner, my sister. But yeah, I couldn't imagine doing it alone. So again, it might be something worth taking your time and seeing what resources are available to you before you make any major decisions when it comes to opening up a center. On the flip side of it, although you keep hearing doom and gloom, all of those things, there are lots of opportunities out there for those who are ready to make that leap. Certainly, the wait lists are long everywhere. There's no shortage of people looking
Sure.
for care. That yeah, for sure. So yeah, this could be a really, really great option for you. And we really care about you. We are making this show for you, and it's all about bringing resources and the best of the best to our listeners. So um, before we end, I'm going to ask a favor. If you like today's episode or any episode that you've listened to in the last month, please leave us a review on either Apple or Spotify, whatever your favorite listening platform is. And again, as always, remember that the success is in the small details that have the biggest impact on the success of your childcare business. So that's
Absolutely.
it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.